Good morning, Mr. Mayor. So you put out a tweet last year in February saying this: trans women are women, trans men are men, non-binary people are non-binary, all gender identities are valid. Now, I read that, and I know a lot of people read that and probably didn't have the foggiest what you were talking about, but it seems to appear that you think that men who say they're women are actually women, and women who say they're men are actually men. So I want to see what you actually think about this. I mean, do some women have male reproductive organs?
I think you're in danger of conflating sex and gender. And I think in relation to gender, I think people should be able to define themselves. And I said it knowing full well that 1 out of 4 trans teenagers try and kill themselves. The group of Londoners, people across our country who should be supported rather than ridiculed as you're seeking to do.
Well, I'm not. I'm just simply trying to find out your opinions. But you've dodged the question. You haven't answered the question. Do some women, Mr. Mayor, have male reproductive organs?
As I explained, you're conflating sex and gender, and one's biology at birth often is not the gender one chooses to have, and that's why it's important to provide a supportive environment to those who are either transitioning or who are trans.
But what about the other way around? I mean, can some men get pregnant and give birth?
Well, I think what you're in danger of doing is to try and incite hatred against a group of people that I care passionately about. As far as I'm concerned, trans rights are human rights. And I proudly stand against any abuse directed towards trans people and the wider LGBTQ plus community. It may seem fun to you and a good way of playing to a certain audience. I'm not going to have it.
Well, Mr. Mayor, I'm simply asking you a question to find out what you think, and you simply haven't answered my question. But if I said to you, Mr. Mayor, I'm a woman, would you recognise that I'm a woman?
If you decided to call yourself a woman, David, and wanted to transition into a woman, I'd help in any way I could. I think the idea, though, for you to make some cheap points on an issue that's really important to a lot of people. A lot of people suffer extreme anxiety and go through real turmoil when they make the transition, only for people like you to ridicule them. I think it's not already on, David. And to use this platform this way, I'm not going to amplify those sorts of messages.
Mr. Mayor, I want to find out what you think, because this is an issue that people have opinions on, and I want to find out your opinions. And there's also a move to change the language. For example, in the NHS, want to remove words like mother and pregnant and actually call, instead of calling people pregnant women, they're calling people pregnant people. Do you support moves to remove words like women and mother from the language?
I've not seen what you're referring to. I've got a mother, so I'm happy to.
There's been lots of reports, for example, certain NHS areas are trying to remove words so that we don't have maternity services anymore. They want to change things from saying breastfeeding as becoming chest feeding, for example. I mean, would you support changing the language?
Chair, can I raise a point?
Sorry, Chair, I'm being interrupted in this.
I believe it is improper, and I
member has a right to
standing orders, section 2.10b, part 2.
No, you have a right to intervene. Please go ahead, Assembly Member.
We're hearing very discriminatory language here, and I think the member should not be further heard.
I would second that suggestion from Assembly Member Russell. This is appalling, and also the Mayor has no responsibility for the National Health Service, and the reports about these matters have been proven to be incorrect in any case. I mean, this is just, completely inappropriate for this Assembly to be listening.
Assembly Member Curtin, I do believe that if not actually, you're verging on very, very offensive comments which are not acceptable, and therefore can you please move on, and if you have any other issue, any item of question, please ask that to the Mayor.
Mr. Chairman, I'm simply asking questions about things that are happening in London and things that the Mayor has tweeted about and things that he has an opinion about. So I think everybody should be allowed to ask questions of the mayor and see what he thinks. And he does have some responsibility for healthcare and health inequalities. So I would put that question to the mayor again. Does he support those changes in language?
Well, look, Mr. Mayor has answered your question. I think please move on. I have given my ruling. I do find your line of questioning and in the way you're putting it offensive to many, and therefore, if you don't have any other question, I'd like us to move on.
I don't have any other questions on any other topic.
Right, thank you. On this. Assembly Member Boff, you had a supplementary on this particular question.
Assemblymember Curtin is following the same old strategy that we've seen in Europe for decades, if not hundreds of years, of blaming a minority for the problems of the majority. And of course, that also entails coming up with lies and tries to make them plausible. There is no such removal of the words mother and breast from the NHS. It isn't happening, it doesn't exist. And as he well knows, what the NHS is doing is trying to use language, inclusive language, for people in particular circumstances. There is no rewriting of the language. Mothers will be mothers, fathers will be fathers. I am, that's it. He's basing it all on lies. And what is the truth? The undeniable truth. And I hope this assembly can speak as one. Well, obviously not as one, because the one person has gone AWOL. That trans men are men, trans women are women, and trans rights are human rights. And let's never forget that.
Thank you. I mean, it's a comment, it's a statement, so I'm not sure if Mayor wants to come in on that. I'd like to move on.
Chair, I think Senator Boff was asking me a question, and in response to what he said, can I say how proud I am to associate myself completely with what Andrew Boff has said, what Caroline Russell has said, and what Ione Cooper has said. I think you've heard this morning, Chair, cross-party support from the Conservatives, from Labour, and from Greens. Now, some will try to portray this as council culture. This is not council culture. What's happened is a combination of Conservatives, Labour and Greens have sought to educate the ignorance that is spewing from that member's mouth.